Welcome back to the channel. I'm C.
And P. We didn't do that. Oh wait, no, because it was a part 2. Yeah, never mind. You'll understand.
You miss my train of thought. Okay, so this video, we're gonna watch 2 videos from the Whatever podcast about them talking about divorce and marriage. So I want your opinions on that, because I feel like nowadays marriage, divorce has changed what it was in the past. So I want I want your opinion on, do you agree with how these 2 people have different opinions on marriage and divorce. So I want to see what your opinions on that. Let's begin.
Sell myself if I just slept with a guy who thought I was good looking and liked me for a night. Like, I want to see a man try and vie, and that's what courting is. Women used to be courted by men. Now they slide up on your pictures, like your story, and they're like, I'm in. No, you're not.
I mean, that's because
you're not.
I mean, courtship is reserved for ladies, know, gentlemen and ladies. Most women today are not ladies.
A lot of men today aren't gentlemen.
That's not a bad point.
So a lot of women have slept with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people. They're dating multiple people at the same time. You don't get courtship if you're not a traditional woman, point blank, period.
Yeah, for sure.
And most women are not traditional women, and they're dating multiple people. I'm not going to court you when you have 3 other dudes that you're dating.
So why don't you ask that question?
Women,
why don't you ask that question? Are you
Okay, quick answer. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Okay.
talking to anybody else?
I do ask that question.
I think that's that's a better first date question.
I do ask that question, but I do care about your past too.
I feel like if you
ask them, are you open to having before marriage?
I think that's a much easier question than a body count, because usually the girl will lend information.
For some background, they're speaking on, this guy was saying that in the first date, he asked a girl her body count. And they are going, is that really, something you should be doing? That's the background of this conversation.
Before marriage?
I think that's a much easier question than a body count, because usually the girl will lend information like, oh yeah, I had sex this time, but it's important
I'll ask
to
that
me.
On the first date.
That's a good question to ask, because if they're like, oh yeah, I don't think that sex is serious.
Marriage, so
so
I'll ask that on the first date.
So it's an interesting question too, because I know that you don't want to get married, and it also actually leaves me wondering, Brian, like if you're not interested in getting married, why do you care about what the girl's body count is?
Like, is that a serious question?
Yeah,
I think it's a great question.
Because if you're not interested in like a serious long-term relationship with the girl that you're talking to, I mean,
hygiene?
Would you ask a woman?
Hygiene does not correlate to body count, though.
We talked a little bit about this last time, but you seem to think that it's somehow incapable. It's impossible to have a serious long-term monogamous relationship with a girl without also having a marriage.
Well, I'm not under the impression that you want like a decades long. Do you want like a decades long relationship with a woman outside of marriage?
Sure.
Yeah.
With
like kids involved and stuff too.
I mean, right now I'm a little on the fence when it comes to kids. I'm not yet. I'm not 100% yes, not 100% no.
Do you just not want the government involved? Is that your thought on marriage?
That's part of it. I mean, just the fact of the matter is that marriage, divorce is, for me, I don't see the benefit. From a religious point of view, I don't have an issue with it, but with the government, when it comes to divorce, when it comes to the financial ramifications, when it comes to just being the court system, which has a pretty gnarly bias against men, just doesn't.
Okay, let's stop there. Okay, I think the guy's name in the black, his name is Chase. I think the way he was phrasing the question, like, that you wanna, he seemed to think that without marriage, you can't have a long-term relationship with kids. I feel like he was coming with that presupposition. You know what I mean?
Because most of the time when you think about being with somebody for X amount of years, normally it goes into marriage and then it goes into children. That's how it was structured for years. But nowadays it's like kids are coming before any of that, and a lot of people don't want to get married, period, based off of what the guy in the flat is saying.
So do you think it's not possible to have a healthy relationship, long-term relationship with kids without getting married? Because it seems like that's why the guy in the black is basically saying.
I'm kind of like on the fence with that because like, do I think it's not possible? No, anything's possible. So I can't say for sure 100% that it's not possible. Do I think that it's going to be really, really difficult? And the odds of you having more arguments within your
Why is that?
because women naturally, no matter what you say, women naturally want to be married. They want to have that white picket fence scenario, want to have a husband, want to have kids.
You can have kids without marriage.
Most women, I want to say, have that fairy tale mindset. It's embedded in us since we were like little. So for men, if you're gonna go into a relationship with somebody and you're saying marriage is completely off the table, know that woman is probably gonna hope that she could change your mind, or just be aware that there may be some backlash that's gonna come your way, or some potential future.
Here's what I think about it. All it is signing a piece of paper. Because I don't see how that's going to change anything. Because in the past, when marriage first begun, the government had nothing to do with it. It was just me, like a guy and a girl says, listen, we love each other, with this, with that, we want to have a long-term, relationship together, and we want to create a family. And between them, they agree on the situation. They tell their parents, they tell the family, and they agree to it. That's all it was. So now, I don't see how women have this thing in the mind where if you don't sign a piece of paper, the contract, how is that? I don't understand how that makes it, like how that changes anything. All it does is put the government out of the business. If we both agree, listen, we want to do this for a long run, why do we need to sign that piece of paper? Unless the girl just wants the party. Because a lot of girls, when they think marriage, they don't think about the paper. They think about the ceremony, the whole marriage ceremony. You know what I mean?
It's not just the ceremony, though. I was going to say, I agree with you that it's not about the piece of paper. Most of the time, I don't think they're thinking about the piece of paper either. Or they're saying
99% of the time, they're not thinking about the piece of paper.
No,
they're thinking about the party they're going to have, the ceremony.
But it's not just about the party. It's the fact of having somebody that's yours. You're exchanging. It's like wearing that ring. That ring has to stay on your finger.
Okay.
Eternally.
The person be yours. The person buy you a ring without getting married.
If you're gonna do the ceremony and have the ring, but not sign the piece of paper, and you're gonna be married, but not like in the eyes of the government married, that's a different story. You're still technically kind of married.
But that's what I'm saying. Why didn't you sign a paper? If you want to do everything else, buy a ring or whatever. But
Yeah, but some men, they don't want to do any of that either. That's what I'm talking about. Like, I don't think he would be even willing to do that, to have a ring and make sure that everybody knows that's your.
Let's find
you know
out.
what I mean?
Let's find out.
Sorry, there's a fly on the microphone. I had to blow it away. Sorry to destroy your earlobes there.
Nice.
Oh. Okay, fucking flies harassing us. Yeah, just men get destroyed in divorce, and women initiate 80% of divorces. That's 90% if they're college educated. So I really don't see the benefit. The vast majority of people who pay alimony and child support are men. So it's just all the negative outcomes of divorce disproportionately impact men. So there's just absolutely no incentive to get married. I'm a businessman.
For the kids.
I said this last time. I'm a businessman. You know I'm a businessman because you find me at my places of business. I do not enter into contracts that are dog shit. And marriage is a contract, and it's a terrible contract
in
for
the state
men.
of California.
In all Western countries.
As long as you don't want kids,
states
whatever.
where
If
there's
you
no
want
fault
kids,
divorce, I think
still a
it's
pretty
terrible
stupid
contract.
plan.
Is it
But in
still a
states where there
terrible-
aren't no fault divorce? Like, how is it a bad contract?
Is it a bad contract if you get a prenup?
Prenups are constantly challenged
Yeah,
and
they
thrown
don't
out.
always
and
work.
Look, at the end of the day, when you get married, if you have a divorce, unless you're both really amicable, there's going to be lawyers involved. If you, as the guy, you're the primary breadwinner, you have to pay for your lawyer. You have to pay her for her lawyer. You have to pay for yours. Lawyers charge like $300 an hour. You're going to get screwed there. Then you're going to have to pay her money. Then
Yeah, we did another video with the legal attorney about all that, the divorce. Like you gotta pay for both lawyers, and there's so many things that are against men on that. And I think that's the way he's speaking here. I'm thinking all he means is the actual contract. You're getting that from him? It's not about the party. It's about and when you sign that contract and the divorce, it's all like the it benefits the woman only, not the men.
I get that. I agree. When it comes to divorce, I agree. I think that's a horrible sentence, and that's why I can kind of understand why men don't want to get married, because of the fear that if you do end up getting divorced, they get the shitty end of the stick, which is 100% true. You see it all the time in all cases. But I don't think that it's all about the party. It's not just the party, which is reasons why women want to be married.
But you just said that they don't really think about the contract.
They're not thinking about the contract,
So
but it's not just about the party.
So what is it about it?
It's about having that connection.
Why can't you do that without the paper?
It depends.
Why
It
does
really
it depend?
depends.
Let's continue. I don't think it makes sense. If you're not thinking about the piece of paper when they want to get married.
Because if you
Okay,
don't have,
what if this? How about
you
this
don't
a
have
placebo?
a
How about you give her like a fake contract to sign? Would that solve
Because
the
if you
problem?
don't have like a legal binding stating that like you are mine, there's so many variables for cheating. So many variables.
But you can cheat with a marriage too.
Yes, you can.
Okay, so why is this is stop cheating?
I don't know. Maybe I'm explaining it wrong. Explain in the comments below why you think men should.
Because marriage doesn't stop cheating. So it's like everything you can do in marriage, you can do without a marriage. The only thing about marriage is that when you get divorced, the courts are so biased against the men. That's the only reason men don't want to get married. It's because of because the courts are so biased. They're like, you know what? I'm not gonna risk it. I'm just gonna not sign the contract. That's what I think most men are saying. Like,
you have to pay for her lawyer. You have to pay for yours. Lawyers charge like $300 an hour. You're going to get screwed there. Then you're going to have to pay her money. Then you're going to have to pay alimony. Then throw in child support. She gets the house. She gets the dog. She gets everything. Fuck no.
But that's an
not
estate. That's an
100% of the
estate with no
time.
fault divorce, though.
I happen
correct?
to be in California.
Right. So, but like in another state, would it be different? Where it doesn't have that?
Men get destroyed in every single state in this country when it comes to divorce and alimony.
But there's, I get it's not 100%, but there is certain clauses and prenups to help you there.
I question if that's true. I'm
and also, like, you
if-
can't
I'm
bet.
curious,
You don't.
like the more red states,
Let's-
if it's as bad.
You don't believe that you can court out a woman who won't do that to you? Like, you just, like, what about, you don't, I'm
I'm
not saying you have to
not-
find someone and marry them right away. What if you're with someone for 10 plus years, you guys are living together, you think all of a sudden you're going to get married and boom, 12th year, she's going to fuck you over. Like,
I'm not a gambling man. Well, I'm not making that bet with a woman. She would have to first
I
off,
hope you don't have kids.
Even if you
did.
dated them for 10
Whoa,
years.
that's kind of a fucked up thing to say.
I mean, if that's
Because I
this is your
don't-
ideology towards it, I mean, it doesn't seem like you're.
See, I think she's under the same thing that says without marriage you can't raise a kid. I think that's false. If you guys live in the same house, whether you sign the contract or not, you're gonna raise your kids the same exact way. I don't see the difference.
You're too concerned about what your mother's child's position in life is going to be. If you have a
What?
child involved, it doesn't matter if you're married or not. That's still going to be a lot of
Exactly.
court fees and all that stuff is still going to come into play if you decide to have children, even if you're not married.
Well, there's child support there. I don't see what that has to do with kids, but I would much rather have to just pay child support. And by the way, I would fight for shared custody. Unfortunately, it happens to be the case in this country and most Western countries that men are, it's almost, well, it is sexist. Men are presumed that, they are not capable of being being capable caretakers, so women are overwhelmingly awarded custody when it comes to custody disputes. So that's, I mean, another component of the court system where there's a bias against men, but I would much rather just pay child support than also have to pay alimony and then pay for, in the event of a divorce, have to pay for her attorney and my attorney, and they're, you know, $300, $400 an hour in billable hours. So no thanks.
That's crazy.
I just, it's just not a good move as a man. It's just not a good move.
I have a question
Unless
for
you
you,
have religious
Brian.
conviction.
Are your parents married?
They are.
Oh, wow.
They're still together. They're married.
My parents aren't.
But we live in a different time now. We live in a very different time. And people maneuver in very different ways. Look, do you think most people that get married, most men and women who get married, they go into it thinking, they maybe go into it thinking, this is the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. I love this person to death. And then 2 years later, 3 years later, 1 year later, 9 months later, they're divorced. They're going through a contested, brutal divorce where typically the man gets financially demolished.
A lot of people get married for the wrong reasons, and so that also is a play, though. There's a lot
Okay.
of happy marriages
So-
out there too.
So I don't want to even risk that as a possibility.
You don't want to risk the loss when like the happiest you could ever. I mean, it's up to you, but
I could be
understand
I
that.
could
like,
be happy outside
I think
of
on the
marriage.
other side of that.
Yeah, I think her and the guy, I don't know why we feel that way about marriage. Like, you can be happy without a marriage. You can be two couples living together happy without a marriage. There's a thing that they call domestic partnership, whatever you just call it, domestic something, where you actually sign a piece of paper, but it's not a marriage contract. It's just saying to the government, this is a domestic partnership, right? Mm-hmm. I think you get like around the same benefits as marriage. Why can't we do that? Would that better if we did that instead?
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
What is this thing that says you cannot be happy without a marriage? Like,
to be honest, I think even though we're living in modern times, our like internal is still in that traditional concept.
But we're no longer traditional. It's like I was saying. Oh my bad, you could continue.
Especially for women, because a lot of women, they want to have both worlds. They want to have their cake and eat it too, right? So in the concept of, I'm a strong, independent woman. I should be able to have as many sex partners, whatever. But I also want to be traditional, and I want to get married and have kids and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
That's the example I was going to bring in the beginning of the video. They were talking about courtship.
Mm-hmm.
Traditional women get courted. Women these days are not traditional.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying courtship is a traditional thing. So you cannot be an untraditional woman and expect the men to be traditional. Something with marriage. In the past, a man would go into a marriage with the women. It's gonna be a virgin, right? Traditional. Nowadays, they also in the past they were ashamed when you get the divorce, so women were not incentivized to get divorced. They were shaming it. Now there's no shame. A woman can just say, you know what, I'm not happy no more. I'm just gonna get divorced, and that's it. Cause there's less shame on women to get divorced. So now I'm risking so much. For saying you can just walk away from without no repercussions. Yeah. At least in the past there were some repercussions, right? Mm-hmm. And in the past there wasn't a man would give half his income and alimony to the woman because women were not allowed, but the woman wasn't working back in the day. Mm-hmm. So if you weren't working, you spend your whole life with the husband to take care of your kids, you're home all day, you're not working. When you get divorced, the woman will end up with no income at all. So it made sense for the government to be like, yo, this is not fair. If she was at home the whole time, not working, give her half your income, and sometimes you gotta pay her child money. It made sense because she was not working. But nowadays, men and women work. So why am I paying alimony? Child support, I understand, right? But why am I paying alimony? Why am I still giving half my income if we both work? You get what I'm saying? That's that's what I'm saying by nowadays. We no longer need that because it was from a traditional era. Yeah. We're not in that era anymore. So that's the problem I have with it.
That risk could also be like the most happy and fulfilled that you'll ever feel in your life. And I don't think there's anything in life more fulfilling than getting married and having a family. And nothing on this earth I feel like could match that. But I do understand that not everybody wants that, and there's different desires for people, and we're in a different age when everybody needs that. But I do absolutely believe that that is the highest level of fulfillment and
I
achievement
think
that a man and women can
marriage,
accomplish.
sure. Marriage is two people staying together under threat of lawsuit from the other, and it's usually the man.
I don't believe it. I don't believe in
Becoming
kids
one
being
So
flesh
marriage-
under God's eyes.
Guys, marriage, I would counter that by saying marriage is two people coming together, making vows to one another that they take and not all people take these vows seriously.
Most marriages end in divorce, I'm pretty sure. So
50.
Yes.
You shouldn't be
and
bringing
that-
kids into this world without it.
Not all,
That's
though.
why I'm saying
I
a
agree.
lot of people don't take those vows seriously, but people who do actually take those vows seriously, like it is till death do us part, and like I'm gonna be there for you,
Sure.
no matter what happens, and there is a lot of value in that.
how many people say, even in romantic relationships, I will love you forever. I want to be with you forever. 1 year later, I hate this person. I can't stand you. I need to get away. People say things, for example, you said a vow. How often are vows broken? I mean, we see it in divorce. You said, and
We're quick. Something else. In the past, vows meant something different. Vows were actually followed. Nowadays, you make a vow, it means nothing to people nowadays. In the past, when you book a vow, people look at you funny. Like you vowed this and then you broke it. People look at you like you were less trustworthy now. In the past. But now you book a vow, people don't really care.
I
See
think
what
the
I mean?
concept of marriage really needs to be between you and your partner. If you feel like you guys have those traditional values and you want to still do those traditional values and instill that in your children and whatever, and still have that traditional mindset, then maybe marriage is right for you, and maybe you will be one of those people that are still married for X amount of years, whatever the case may be. So you really need to, but like this guy said, you could be so in love and then want to get married, and in like 10 years from now, things change.
Marriage is hard. And like I always say, the person you marry is not the same person you divorce. It's not always the same person you divorce. And marriage is hard. And the girl even said that people are getting married now for the wrong reasons. So in that era, do you really want to sign a contract that says if we divorce, half my things goes to the other person when y'all only been married for like 2 years? I don't think it makes sense.
I agree with you. Marriage ought to be till death do us part. I agree with you. If I were to marry a woman, it has to be till death do us part. Words have to have meaning.
There's a lot
If
of
I
women who
say
do that, though.
till death do us part, I mean that shit, and I want the woman to mean it too.
Like-
So,
But
part of
words
the
mean
value,
nothing nowadays. Go ahead.
Yes, and you're right about that. And part of the value in marriage historically has been having a ceremony in front of all of your friends and families and loved ones where both of you guys are making this commitment, and there's an element of honor that comes into it where you're saying, I promise to take care of you and be with you for the rest of my life, and you're making that promise in front of everybody that you know, right? And so there's accountability there, and there's accountability for both people because you're making that promise in front of your spouse's entire friends and family, and they know, if you cheat on her or you screw up in the relationship, you're accountable not just to the person that you're marrying, but to all of the people in your family and hers that you made those promises in front of, right? That this is something like this has been something that's been really interesting for me to observe as a wedding photographer, because I'll shoot weddings where people will do these tiny little ceremonies at like the courthouse here in Santa Barbara, and it's just them in front of an officiant, and then they get married and that's it, right? It's a totally different vibe in comparison to like watching your wife, your future wife, walk down the aisle with her father and him passing her off to you and trusting his daughter to you, and then the handshake that happens between you and your wife's father, and him looking you in the eyes and hugging you.
Even asking for the hand in marriage part.
Even the asking for the hand in marriage part, asking for the father's blessing. Like there's so much honor and trust that goes into all of it, and that is something that is like, it's so valuable, because if you just tell a person, yeah, I love you and I want to be with you forever, and that's one-on-one, that doesn't mean squat. But if you say that in front of everybody that you know and love, and they can all hold you accountable to it, there's a lot of value in that, man. And there's deep shame and dishonor in breaking that.
Like my body count's 12. You guys look at me as a scallywag, and I'm telling you right now, if I get married, The only way it's ending in divorce if he's physically harming me or something. That's the only way I would okay a divorce. I would, if once I'm married, I say
What if
those
he cheated
vows.
on you?
We're gonna figure it out.
Here, Chase, let me just respond.
He makes a good point about all that he said. That was great, amazing. But I think him and that other girl, I think he's Christian and I think she's Jewish. They are coming at marriage from a religious perspective, traditional religious perspective. If you're Jewish or if you're a Christian and you want to get married because of that, I think, go ahead. But they are trying to put that mindset and apply it to the whole society. You know what I'm saying? Society don't think about marriage like you just described. That was beautiful what you just said. And if you think about marriage that way, there's a high chance that you will not get divorced. But do you really think most people think about marriage that way? Or is it like, oh my God, I have this feeling and I love this person. Oh my God, feelings. Let's get married. And then when you're in marriage, you realize, shit, this thing takes work, right? And they're like, you know what? I don't know, man. This is too hard. I'm gonna dip. You think most society think about it how he described, or the way I described?
Do you think? But that could be said for both sides. That could be another reason why men don't want to get married. It's too much work. They don't want to deal with the work. It's just easier to just be single.
Yeah, I think both of them, not one. Yeah, both of them. But marriage is hard for both the man and the woman. But like you just heard, who initiates the divorce 90% of the time? 80% of the time, women do. And if she's college educated, she initiated 9% of the time. So women initiate marriages, right? I mean, initiate the divorces. So do you still do the same?
I don't know. I feel like the guy in the black shirt does. I agree with him with everything he said, because when I think about marriage, that's what I think of.
But do you think most people think about it like that? That's what I'm trying to tell you. Do you think most people think about marriage like he described?
I don't know.
You don't know? I don't think so. You go to this, like, you shouldn't be going to Miami and just to find a wife. But you go to Miami, you go to like those cities, you go to girls not thinking like that about marriage. Like,
No, not those girls.
I think most girls is there.
But if you go down south, yeah. If you go to all those small towns areas, yeah.
That makes sense, but that makes sense.
The majority is not I think it's more like, I don't want to say 50-50, but like,
It's not 50-50.
I wouldn't say the majority of women don't think like that. Because
But let's
the
say,
majority
okay,
of
let me be
women.
simple. Let's say you meet a guy in Miami or like a guy in like LA. Would you give him that same advice? Just get married, knowing how those girls in those cities and those cities operate. Would you tell him to get married? If
No,
you had a
I
son
would
who
tell
live in
him-
Miami, would you tell him, oh yeah, get married?
No, I would tell him that before he gets married, he has to think about trying to settle down in the suburbs. Because living in a city, if you think you're gonna find a wife while living in a city, you have another thing coming. There's no way. Especially nowadays, Gen Z culture.
I agree that it's better if you go like in the country or whatever in the south, like you said, but it's still not a guarantee. I think since the courts are so biased against women, I still don't think it's a good idea. Let's continue.
Okay.
Respond to what
Yeah.
you said. So
If we have kids, especially, we're figuring it out.
everything that you just said sounds beautiful. Sounds great.
Like I said.
All that stuff happens. You said the father walks her down the aisle. She's in the dress. There's the handshake or whatever you said. Cool. That's great. All that stuff happens. And yet, what do we have?
A
A
high
50%
divorce rate,
divorce
yep.
rate. You
Yep.
said there's
You make a
shame.
good
You
point.
said there's stigma. There is no longer a societal shame for people that get divorced. In fact, a girl need just go to one of her girlfriends and just say, we're having some disagreements. The girlfriend's going to be like, divorce him.
I don't know any
She's going to
girl
go to a
who would say
therapist,
that.
divorce him.
Unless they'd have
Because most
nothing-
therapists are steeped in feminism. They're
Base.
dude.
So
therapy is a whole nother.
Yes,
therapy is a whole
Brian.
nother thing.
You raise an important point.
Let me just
Go on.
finish really quick. So, all that stuff you said, all the things. First off, the social stigma in the U.S. in most Western countries, non-existent. Unless you're in like your whole
Or you're
circle.
in a religious environment.
Thank you. Divorce is very frowned
And
upon
that's-
where I was
that's
raised.
the thing.
Christianity
That's the
is
thing.
not an antidote to divorce.
I don't know a thing.
I'm sorry, but this girl is going so hard about divorce and Christianity, yet she got like a 12 body count.
She's Christian.
Oh, that makes sense. Christian girls are very.
What?
Okay, never mind. Continue.
Listen, in this day and age, you're not gonna find a virgin. I'll say, a guy, man. This day and age, virgins don't exist anymore. It doesn't matter if you're Christian, if you this, if you that. It's very rare. Christianity, Jewish, maybe in the Muslim community, like in the Middle East, maybe you find more virgins there, because it's so like you'll die, like this, like it's very dangerous in that part of the world to not be a virgin, right? It's, before you get married, it's like dangerous. So I'm pretty sure you find a lot of virgins there. I will agree that we should make girls virgins with it to the violence. I don't agree with that, you know what I mean? But that in this country you find more virgin girls. I think also they don't let the West, influence them as much. So the girls are more willing also to stay virgin. It's not just the violence. Girls are also more willing to stay virgins because they're not influenced by the West.
Raised a Catholic. I don't know a single
disagree
divorced
with
couple.
that. I disagree.
Because not an antidote to divorce.
I don't know a single. I was raised a Catholic. I don't know a single divorced couple.
I disagree
Because
with that.
how many Christians and Catholics get divorced?
We-
A lot.
Isn't it
we looked
very
up
low?
the stats.
It's very
we looked up
low.
the stats on the last show.
I couldn't
We looked
name
up-
one person that's
Guys,
divorced.
hold on. We looked up the stats on the last show. There were contradicting stats. People sent me more stuff after the fact. The majority of this is the thing, man. This is why our society must return to God. When people they actually take their faith seriously and they
Do you
regularly
see
attend
that?
church.
I really
Read that.
Chase Bridges, but Brian has a point in the thing. No one is saying is a woman don't care about vows, and we have numbers to prove it. Women want a wedding; they don't want to be wives in the West. That's what I was saying earlier. They want a wedding, but they're not thinking about what does it take to be a wife. You think women these days are thinking about, you know what? How can I be the best wife for my husband? You think most women going to marriage are thinking about that?
No, but if you grew up.
We're talking about the majority here. We're not talking about the little pockets of girls in the South. We're talking about like the majority of women in the West.
Because me personally,
It's
even
not
though
pers-
I'm
okay,
just
go ahead,
giving my
Go ahead.
me personally, even though I grew up in a divorced household, I also grew up in a traditional household. So for me, I see marriage the same way Chase sees marriage.
But what I'm trying to make you see, don't think of marriage like how I see marriage. Think of it how
You don't see marriage.
general. I'm gonna stop it. This is. I'm so do that. I knew you were gonna do that, guys. That was a joke. It was a joke.
No, it's not. It
Listen.
said help.
Listen, don't joke like that. Don't joke like that. you know there are some feminists out there who's gonna be like, "Oh my God, you see this?" Don't joke like
They're
that.
gonna cut that.
Exactly. what was I saying? Maybe it's my introduction of that, but
I'm sorry, I'm just picturing
I
that one
think my
clip
cat, man. Let's continue.
on
I'm
a
not sure
YouTube
of
short.
Oh God, man. Let's continue.
And they're actually serious about their faith seriously, and they regularly attend church, and they're actually serious about their faith in God. Like the statistics that we pulled up before, these are people who aren't actually serious about their faith in God. When you have people who are actually serious about their faith in God, and they're making that commitment before God, and they know that they will be held accountable to it before their Creator, like that is a big deal, man. And when you factor those things in, the divorce rates, yes, the divorce rates are much lower. Somebody sent me stats about this in my Instagram yesterday. Somebody wrote a book about this. and divorce in the Christian church, when you have people that actually
sure
take
it's
their
lower.
faith seriously,
I'm sure it's lower.
It's very
It
low.
has to be.
It's not very low.
It is.
It
not.
has
It is
to be.
very,
low.
very low.
It's not very low.
Yes, it is.
Look,
Just based off like the numbers, like if I can't even name a single couple from my school of 400 kids that was divorced at my Catholic school.
I think
Not a
you,
single
I think
one.
you're part of
the
the problem
values?
if your view is that pessimistic.
Like the
Yeah.
numbers.
I'm not
Yeah,
part of the
you-
problem.
No,
I'm
no, no,
realistic.
no, wait.
Realistic.
I under-
Okay, here's what I think about it. I think the guy in the black shirt, his name is Chase, and the girl, they're too optimistic about marriage. I think he's too pessimistic about marriage.
There's no middle.
And if I was going in that scenario, I would lean towards the pessimistic part. Because if you're too optimistic, you go into a thing, you can get fucked. But if you're pessimistic about it, you don't put yourself in a situation where you are at a disadvantage. You know what I mean? I know my view of marriage is pessimistic. I know that. But their view of marriage are too optimistic. Because if marriage is 50% of marriage in a divorce, right? I think they're too optimistic about marriage.
Yeah, but if you know your partner's views on,
But it can still happen. Marriages happen in the Christian community. Marriages happen in the Jewish community. Marriages happen in these communities too. So I think without those traditional values of society, it's not really a good call for me.
but I'm saying if you're dating somebody, you know that they have those traditional values, and you also know you want to be with that person for the rest of your life. How could you still not gonna marry that person?
It could still happen. It happens. People go and like, oh my God, we love each other. Oh my God, it's just bliss. And then
No,
you
that's
hear
not
about
what I'm
it.
talking about. I'm talking about traditional values. It's not, oh my God, we love each other. It's,
But that's how it is.
I know this woman has these traditional values, traditional mindset. They believe that if they are married, that's it. That's all they want. They just want to be married and have kids and have a family, and they're gonna actually put the work in and do what they gotta do. Blah 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 blah. It's not about lovey-dovey. I just want to get
Some of
married.
these people
blah,
still
blah.
get divorced though. The problem is not the people. The problem is the courts. If the courts was more fair about marriage, I don't think guys would have a problem with it. The problem is the courts. It's not women. I'm not trying to say women here. The problem is the court system. Women are incentivized to leave marriages because they know. There was this video I watched about this girl who was divorcing this guy, and she wanted full custody of her kids. Why do you think that is? Because she gets more money for child support. So when she found out that she wasn't gonna get as much money as she thought, she was devastated. With those kind of women in the world, you cannot be naive and be so optimistic about things. That's the way I see it.
I totally understand. I totally understand
Let
that.
me just I'll let you come in. I just want to make a couple points here. Chase, hypergamy does not care about a woman's godliness or her piety.
Yes,
it doesn't matter. It does
Hypergamy
not
still
matter.
exists as an aspect of human nature, but there are women out there with principles, bro. There are women out there with
Sure,
principles,
but
who actually
women,
like,
feel like
women
they
in
have
the
great
U.S.
principles right
I
there.
guess what I want to eventually get to is that women are incentivized to basically there's such a major financial incentive for women to get divorced. As soon as there's even a hint of unhappiness, and look, as a man, you should never sign a contract with someone who is rewarded for breaking it. No sane, informed man would or should sign that contract. As a businessman, it is one of the worst contracts you could possibly sign in your entire life.
If you're marrying a
I'd
true
still sign
feminine
it.
woman, though, like if you're marrying a true feminine woman who's in touch with everything in motherhood, she would do everything in her possible being to make sure that she could keep her family together for her kids. A true woman who's has the right values, the right head on her shoulders, you will be able to tell that is not. There's no incentive to divorce. When I think of divorce, because I'm gonna have kids by that point, right? I plan to have kids very soon after marriage. The worst thing in my mind would have to make my kids go between homes. That's the last thing I want. I also wouldn't want them to be raised in a toxic household where we don't love each other, but that's not an incentive. If you're marrying someone who like thinks that divorce is a positive outcome for them, you really miss the mark on who you're marrying, and you missed a lot of red flags throughout that dating process. Maybe you were too worried about, not saying you personally as a joke, it's mostly a joke. Maybe you were too worried about her height and her body count and other things instead of her morals and morality because she wouldn't do those things. There's no sensible woman.
Divorce is not some outlier occurrence that rarely happens. Like I said, the divorce rate is 50%.
Maybe to you, but
Yeah, there's another video that goes deeper into it, so we'll do that next. But what I think about what you saw? Yeah, that's the second one.
Oh.
I had it ready.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, what I was saying before when I lost my train of thought.
Oh, sorry.
Is that don't think about what marriage means to you. Think about what marriage means to majority of women in the West. That's what I'm saying. You might have a different view on marriage. I'm pretty sure a lot of girls do. I'm pretty sure a lot of girls don't want to get divorced no matter what. They exist. But I'm talking about the majority here. Do you think the majority of women have the idea of marriage the way he described it? The majority of women today in the Western society.
I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Because all the women that I've known, and
have you known people who got married and they claim to stay together forever and they still got divorced? Does that happen? Okay, but doesn't that happen though? That's what I'm saying. You can both go into it thinking, oh my God, this is gonna be amazing, we're gonna stay together forever, and divorce still happens. That's why I'm saying the court system is what's making men like, yo, I wanna, you know what I mean? It's not the woman, it's the court system. But this is only 7 minutes long. Hopefully this video is not too long, but let's continue with that one.
Divorce a man in the Jewish community, she cannot get remarried. Okay, if a woman wants to divorce a man in the Jewish community, she cannot get remarried, and a rabbi will not remarry her if she does not have the
Let's
get
talk
from
about
her
the court
previous
system,
relationship.
because religion's a whole nother topic.
That's what I agree with you, though. I think your problem might be that the government is so heavily involved in marriage, and that's a big thing where I separate that, especially when it comes to like gay marriage and things of that sort. To marriage, if my rabbi marries me in the eyes of Hashem and under God's eyes, we are married. It doesn't matter what the government says, we're married.
And you can become an apostate and then get out of your marriage.
But you can't convert out of Judaism.
So
and you can never remarry a Jew.
Let's ask a
That's the
productive
bigger
clarifying
problem, I
question
guess.
here. Let's ask a productive clarifying question. So as a woman with religious convictions who it sounds like you will never get divorced, or at least you have that.
God willing, I really hope not. That sounds horrible. It's my worst nightmare.
By your own choice. By your own choice, can you confidently say you will never get divorced?
What's that?
What was that? I don't know if y'all heard that, but there was like a giant bang, like a bomb went off or something. Ask us.
We're checking that out.
I mean,
as long as
I
he
don't know
doesn't
if you
cheat
can
or beat
say,
you or anything like that.
Yeah, if nothing goes wrong in the marriage, I think there's always hard times in marriages. I would absolutely stay committed. I'm a very loyal person, but I think it's also like you plan and God laughs in that sense of like, I have this dream of what I would like. I would love to be like my grandparents, married for 70 years since you're young, committed, beautiful children, generations. But it also is a messed up world, and I am a realist in that sense. And I know that things come in, but if it was just
So
like, I don't
hold on.
like him anymore, no, I wouldn't divorce him.
Okay. So like everybody has a dream about how their marriage is
Yeah.
going to go. Everybody wants to live happily ever after and like have just the best
The
marriage
fairy
of all time.
tale.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of people fall on hard times,
Yeah.
right? Like, let's imagine, you said that you like strong masculine men and you want a man who is strong enough to actually lead you. Let's say you marry a man and you guys fall on hard times. Like, I don't know, maybe he gets paralyzed, maybe some terrible accident happens and his nuts get chopped off. And like all of a sudden his body has stopped producing testosterone and he stops being like the vital, strong man that he was when you married him. And you guys fall in tough times. Like in a situation like that, would you stay with him? Let's say those hard times, that they're going to last for years.
Well, according to her,
But let's answer that quick question first.
That if I was married to a person and
Accident, nuts cut off, testosterone is low, so he's not really like that manly. He's become effeminate, and he's not manly no more,
yeah,
and he can't have kids.
if
You
I
guys can't have kids.
truly
Would you stay or would
love
you divorce?
if I truly love a person, I would still be with them.
Okay.
To me, if I love you so much and then we get married,
Paralyzed from the waist down, you gotta change the diaper. You gotta empty out the pee bag, the number 2 bag. You gotta put him in a wheelchair every day, drive him around.
I love you. I have to take care of you.
She literally cannot.
No, you can. You can say, I want a divorce, but your husband has to give you the contract that says you're officially divorced, because otherwise you can't get remarried.
Oh, so you can just continue nagging him and being a
No,
pain in his ass until he does grant you
Well,
the
there's a lot of
divorce.
problems
Sounds
with
like
it.
a great
No, there's a lot
relationship.
of problems in the community where the communities will help shun guys who don't give gets to people because it's abusive.
Okay, so fine.
Okay, but hold on.
Well, you,
There's
So it's not really like a so it's not really just. So if your solution is that women cannot divorce a man, or men have to divorce her, but then if he's shunned for not divorcing her, it's the same thing. You're forcing a man to do it, so it's the same thing. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These will help shun guys who don't give gets to people because it's abusive.
okay, so fine.
Okay, but hold on.
Well,
There's
in a
societal
situation
pressure.
like- in a
Marriage is not
situation like
between
that.
just two individuals and God. There's also important marriage. The basis of marriage is to have children,
Okay,
and society
so-
needs
Two
to
families
encourage
together.
I
this.
want an answer
And
to
bring
my
two
question.
families
I want
together.
an
Yes.
answer to my question.
Yes.
In a situation like that, where you guys fall in hard times and he
Yes.
stops being the man that you married, you made this commitment before God. Would you stick to it? Leave his him potentially wanting to get divorced out of the equation. Let's say it's all in your hands. Would you stick with it?
I think the biggest factor in that moment, everyone would want to be like, yes, of course. But I think the biggest factor would be if we had children or not. I want babies and lots of them. That is extremely important to me to procreate and be a mother. And if I was no longer if this guy was no longer able to make me a mother, that is a goal that is my biggest goal in life. So I would go pursue that goal. And I don't think because certain things
you're saying
happen
if
that you
you- if
should
you-
give up your biggest goal in life
so
to
you're-
pass on your genetics.
You're saying if that dream of becoming a mother became compromised after marrying
Yes.
this guy, you would consider a divorce?
Yes, because
You see that?
She values being a mother more than she values being a wife.
Exactly.
But that's her values. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But you see that as a guy, you come into that, right? You're thinking, even this woman right now who's saying that there's no way she'll get divorced, but they're still saying that she'll get divorced for. So you might go in there thinking that it's gonna be amazing, but then something happens to you that was unexpected, and bam, divorce. So I mean, no matter how there's still a chance, and unless we fix the courts, men are always gonna be apprehensive about it because there's still a chance that there's gonna be a divorce. You get what I'm saying? So even her, she's so like, I'm gonna get married, I'm not gonna get divorced, blah blah blah. She's so like gung ho on marriage and the traditional marriage, right? Even she says, in certain scenarios, she'll get divorced. So if she's like that, imagine the regular woman in Miami. Imagine the women who are not as religious as her. Imagine the woman, the regular woman who's not thinking about marriage the way she's thinking about marriage. You think they would think twice about divorce if they become unhappy? Because she values her happiness more than the marriage. But in a marriage, marriage is, you have to be unselfish in a marriage. You can't be selfish. Doesn't matter what I want, doesn't matter what he wants, it's about what's best for the marriage. In that scenario, she's thinking about what I want. You see what I mean? If you can't give me what I want, divorce. That's not how a marriage is supposed to be. That's not what marriage is. Even her, she's saying this. So how can you defend the other girls who are not as religious as her if she's saying that?
If that dream of becoming a mother became compromised after marrying
Yes.
this guy, you would consider a divorce?
yes, because being a mother is like the one day, God willing, not right now, but like that is, I feel like, why I was put on this earth, to leave my mark, to make it a better place, but also to raise children, raise them to be good members of society, teach them the ways of the world. And if I wasn't able to do that, I would probably
that's
reconsider.
a reasonable dream to have, but you're kind of proving Brian's point, which is like it's till death do us part, as long as things go the way that I really want them to go.
Well, if a freak accident happens and somebody's half their body gets chopped off, those are things that aren't
what-
general, and I think you have to treat it when it happens.
What are the
I
rest
hope
of
it
the
doesn't,
vows?
though.
Till death do us part, in sickness and in health.
Yes. There's certain
It's-
like if
it would
somebody
be
had
God's
cancer,
will.
kind of
It would be
black-pilled right
it
now
would be
by the
God. It would be God's will if you married a man and he was in some catastrophic accident where he can no longer have children. It is God's will that you do not have children.
I think this is the same thing, like trying to justify abortion with certain things where it just, these are such extreme 1% of 1% that like this isn't
But
the
things-
average
but
guy
things
is not
do
getting
happen.
his balls chopped off in a freak helicopter
train.
crashing into him. I'm sorry, this doesn't happen. Divorcing is more likely. So I think if you gave me like a general situation,
But what
maybe.
if you married a guy and like there wasn't some freak accident like that and he just happened to be infertile?
That happens to. Oh, that's more.
They would
realistic.
probably cover that he was fertile or not before
I think
that
that's
you get
something-
married, right? You
That's
probably
not
figure
like,
out.
do
Like,
you want
like-
kids? I think a guy would know if he was fertile or not before
No.
getting married. I don't know
I mean,
how guys
we-
would know
we-
if they're
we've
fertile
got-
or
we've
not.
got
You have to get your
endocrine-
sperm.
How would you know that?
No, it's the same thing with women.
How's-
Sometimes women
exactly.
think that they are able to have children,
But if they can't.
and then when they try, you realize that you can't.
Exactly. It's no, you can tell.
hmm
Even if you tested before marriage, there's certain things that can happen after marriage that can cause you not have kids. Cancer, for example. Was it prostate cancer? Is it prostate?
think so.
Or testicular cancer, maybe.
Yes.
It can stop that from happening. So,
Same thing with women. Your eggs, your ovaries.
yeah.
You could get tested and you could say that you could still give birth, but then you have a bunch of bad eggs.
So I
All
think
your eggs are bad, so yeah, you can give birth, but your percentages of giving birth is like
Very low.
negative point blah 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 blah.
Negative.
Because you're
So I think you answered correctly when I asked you, would you stay? You answered correctly. She already failed the test. You know what I mean? But there's another layer to it. You're saying that you will stay, right? And you right now you think, yeah, I'm gonna stay, right? But when you actually go through that, you might change your mind. I'm not saying you will. I'm not saying you personally you will. But what I'm saying is, even if a girl says I'm gonna stay, no matter if you like become a totally different person, she might say that in the beginning. But when you go through that experience, she might change her mind.
well
You see what I mean?
for me personally, I always viewed love, marriage, and having children differently than most people did. Like if I love somebody and I'm giving my all to somebody, the only way that I will ever walk away from that relationship is if one, they're being abusive towards me, mentally or physically, like I'm getting abused, or two,
I think
If-
mental abuse is okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
or two, if they're giving me no choice but to walk away, meaning like there's no love or care there that they're giving back to me, or they want to walk
let's
away.
let's stop enough with it. You're saying unless they're not showing love towards me, right? That's a feeling. I feel like you're not loving me enough. I feel like see what I mean?
No, it's not about that. Because
Let me
that-
finish. Let me finish.
no, because that's not true.
Let me finish. Feeling like you're not shown by your love is a feeling at the end of the day. And a lot of girls, the reason for divorce is that, oh, he's not loving me enough. Or he's
No, because it's not about oh, I feel blah 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 blah. It's about actually what you're going
There's
through.
not-
Actions speak
there's
louder
not a
than words.
scientific calculation to prove if somebody is showing enough love to you. It's all about, do you feel like he's showing enough love to you? That's what it's about. There's no like scientific equation that can
Yeah,
tell
but
you.
you don't have to be. It's not like, oh, I've been dating this guy for 20 years. Oh, he's not showing me as much as attention as he did last year. So let's say I'm gonna walk away.
Some women do
That's
that.
not that. Obviously, that's some women. I'm talking about me right now.
I'm not talking about you though. We're talking about majority
I
of
was
women.
talking about me.
Okay, go ahead. I thought we were talking about generalizing. Okay, go ahead. Talk about you. Talk about you. Now everything's about you. See,
I
you're
just
abusive right now.
said.
I thought we
in
were
the
talking
beginning.
about. I thought we were talking about the.
I said in my scenario.
Okay, go ahead.
What,
Finish
how
your-
I view.
Finish your scenario. Jesus.
I don't like you anymore.
Is
Never
the
mind.
scenario done?
If the people
Let's
actually
continue.
heard me, they know what I'm talking
Well,
about.
what I'm saying is your scenario is good and well, but most girls are thinking about, oh my God, I feel like he's not showing me enough attention. I feel like he's not loving me enough. I think that's why women become unhappy, because they feel like, you know what I mean? He's like, you have a kid, he's working to take care of the kids in the house or whatever, so he spends less time with you, right?
See,
And
no, I don't
maybe he gets
agree with that.
some friends, and he is with his boys sometimes. Oh my God, you spend the time with me, and now you always either you at work or you with your boys. I think that's when a woman starts to feel like he's not loving me like he used to. Not you, women in general.
Some women, yeah, some women, I
happens.
agree with you, would probably think like that. But for
Alright.
me, I would be happy in
All right,
those
let's,
scenarios.
let's continue.
Disruptors, we've got polyesters,
or
we've got all
they've had
sorts
an
of things that are
abortion, so
compromising.
you
We've
probably
got
wouldn't want them.
We've got all sorts of things that are compromising fertility in both the sexes, and it's like, you know, he might be fertile before you marry him, but then like, who knows, something could happen. He might develop a condition or something within a few years of you guys marrying if his ability to procreate with you gets compromised, but there's no freak accident involved. Like, is it still a deal breaker?
I think these are such one-off cases that it's hard to like give such a strong yes because like these are such freak random things. God forbid
Infertility
that happens to anybody.
isn't well. Male infertility
just
isn't
randomly
that,
happening overnight.
No.
you know?
But here's the thing: you say, well, let's assume he was just infertile the entire time. I mean, you weren't. He never tried to have a kid with another woman. He didn't try to have kids with you before marriage. So it's, I don't know what the infertility rate is amongst men, but it's not so much of an outlier as some like catastrophic accident happening. So
So here's
yeah.
here's an interesting way to flip the situation. What if you guys got married and God forbid, hypothetically, you found out that you were infertile and he wanted to
Ooh.
divorce you? How would
There
you
we
feel
go.
about that?
Good
So
question.
that would be really sad, but at the same time, like that's not just something that you just find out. Like I'm, as a woman, I would
What do
know
you
if I lost
mean?
my period, you go through
You don't
changes
lose
and
a
you would
period
know that's
too.
not something where you're like, you wake up, you're like, oh, guess today.
You can still be infertile
No, that's
while having
not
your
true.
period. That's not true.
That's not true. I don't think she has read up on that or knows people that have gone through those things to know that it's a lot more common than you think. Like me, I have seen a lot of people that thought that they were okay. My best friend actually, his mom didn't have him until she was much later on in life because she thought she was infertile. She was having so many issues with trying to have kids. That's why she adopted her first child, because she wanted kids so badly.
Yeah.
And then her having her second child was a freak accident, and she was like in shock because she thought she was literally infertile. She had all these tests done. No doctors knew why she couldn't give birth or whatever the case may be. And it was really like sad for her. And then all of a sudden she was able to have kids.
Yeah,
and then I know people that the opposite happened. So yeah. There's a lot
It's
of
not
But you could have your
the day
period
anymore,
and
you
not
know?
be fertile.
Yeah.
True.
You're like, oh, guess today's not.
But you could
the
have your
day
period
anymore,
and
you
not
know?
be fertile.
Yeah.
True.
Aren't there a lot of women who still
Yeah,
have
you
their
could have
period
your
and they're
period
not
and
fertile?
struggle having children.
I
So.
feel
And also
like
some
I'm very
wombs
fertile.
aren't meant to carry.
she feels fertile.
I feel like I'm
She's real
extra.
fertile.
I don't know, but honestly, the problem with fertility.
She feels fertile. That's what I mean. Women which have feelings. That's what I mean by that. Oh, feelings. What about
She's-
she's child?
I really hope.
Let's finish it.
And all that stuff is tough because I don't support IVF or things of that nature. But I do just, flipping it to the positive side, I hope everybody is able to have the kids they want, and I hope nobody has to deal with the struggles of infertility because it's very, very difficult. So hopefully God blesses us all with abundance. Thank you.
Amen.
So,
I agree.
okay.
I think we
Let's
kind of got into
you
the
want a few.
weeds.
Let's
there.
move on.
Let's be
Let's
positive,
move on.
okay?
Got it. Hey, do you feel fertile?
I really hope she does have kids because
Go
that
ahead,
poor
Lindsay.
girl, she's so. I'm gonna have babies. That if she doesn't have babies, she'll probably like literally
Yeah, it'll be really sad.
crash and burn,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
like literally, like. Oh my god.
So there's people at least have some good points. Do you think him and maybe me, did we have some good points? You
I
still don't-
understand your points. Do I still believe that marriage is a good and sacred thing? Do I still believe that people should value marriage as a good sacred thing? Do I personally still want to get married? Yes.
Listen, what you just said, I agree with everything what you said, right? That it should be sick. I think the best scenario for like family, whatever, is to get married and whatever, right? But I think what's what I'm looking for. I think what you just said is true, but I think the courts ruined it. I think
But that's
if
only
you are
if
like,
you have to deal
okay,
with the courts.
if I was like, I know Jewish and Muslim people, they have two marriages they can do: a marriage to the state, I think, and a marriage to the nothing. If you Muslim, marriage and state are the same thing, so whatever. I think for the Jews, the Jews they have two different marriage certificates. The one for the state, the one for the religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I was Jewish, I will only sign the religious contract, not the government contract. That's how I feel about it.
Okay.
Would you agree with that, or would you just sign both? Would you be
I-
fine with them trying
I
to?
would be fine with just the religious one because I understand how men feel when it comes to the government.
Okay, last question. Knowing that, would you be comfortable signing a domestic, what I said earlier? A domestic
Marriage,
cohabitation instead of the government contract.
yeah,
See,
I would be
we
fine
made
with that.
some progress, guys. We're making progress.
I would
These
be fine
conversations
with
are
that.
good to have.
Because to me, the core part is having a traditional marriage.
So you
It
think?
doesn't have to be under the government, as long as I am married with a partner that I know I'm gonna be with until death.
So
As long as I have somebody that's gonna be there with me to help raise our children, to be there with me if I get sick, if I get paralyzed.
So you think,
you're gonna be there to take care of
so
me
you
and
think-
wipe my ass? Like I'm gonna
you
be there
think
for you.
a signature gives you that? You think it's more? You think it's more likely somebody's gonna do that if he signs a piece of paper?
No, I think that
So
the
that's- it
piece of
makes no
paper
sense.
just puts a seal to it. You know. It's like you're writing.
Okay, what if the person go to Word and he writes down a piece of paper and he puts sign here and give it to you and says sign here? Would that be the same thing?
No, because there's no seal to it.
What if he buys the seal? He stamps
No,
it.
you don't. No, that's not what I mean. There's no actual like seal.
What
to
does the
it.
seal means to you?
Meaning like some kind of legal bind to it, some seal.
But a domestic partnership is not legal document. Well, it
Yes,
is a
it
legal
is.
document, but is it a legal document?
Yes, it
I
is.
guess it's a legal document. So you want? Okay, so what if I get a lawyer, a judge to say this document is legal, and the judge stamps it?
Yeah.
What does that matter to you? Why can't it just be two people agreeing
No,
on something?
because you need something to
So
seal
you need a
it.
stamp. Okay. So the problem is for you. You need it to say, oh, this is a legal document.
You need something to seal it, so that way there's no ands and ifs about it. Nobody
Yeah.
else can marry you. Nobody else can.
So are you afraid that they're gonna marry somebody else?
There's
The stamp. Let's say you stamp something. Bam. The person can still marry somebody else. The stamp didn't stop them from marrying somebody else.
talking about.
You saying that the stamp means to you that, oh, at least I know you're not gonna marry somebody else.
No, it's a legal binding, meaning that you are mine. We are together.
Okay,
it's,
but
it's like a woman taking
Exactly,
your last name.
but
That's
but the person can still say, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to get divorced and I want to marry somebody else.
that could happen regardless. That
That's
could
what I'm
happen
saying. So what does it matter? That's my point. What does it matter?
because if you're dating somebody and you are doing it through traditional values and you're doing a legal binding, then you know that the person that you're going into this legal binding is not going to do that to you.
But it can still happen though. That's my point.
Oh my god.
You don't know.
Talking to you.
I
is
understand
like
what you
talking to
mean.
a wall.
You're saying that
Oh
you know.
my god.
No, you saying you're using definite words that you know that it's not gonna do that to you.
Because
but
you're
you can still
going to
do it.
know.
But I'm saying,
You're going to know. If you really care about those things, you're not gonna walk into a marriage without knowing that this is the one that you want to
Okay,
go
but then
into.
at that point I would say that why would you need the piece of paper at that point? That's what I would say at that
Oh
point.
my god.
But this is this not going nowhere. She don't want to. She know I'm making sense, guys. Tell her I'm making sense. Put in the comments if I'm making sense, guys. Cause I think I'm making sense.
Tell him he's stupid. Yeah.
Like, comment, subscribe, guys. If you wanna see more competitions happen.
You may not see him in the next episode.
If you wanna see, if you wanna see us bring other people to discuss this,
to argue and kill him.
to discuss these topics, tell us in the comments. This is a long ass
Your
video.
sister. Your sister would have
Peace
a lot
out,
to say
guys.
about this.